Welcome. It is the weekly roundup, Friday the 10th, 2022, in which we'll go over what happened during this week, and I'll share my thoughts on how a new paradigm, just a simple shift in how we think of insomnia, really can change everything. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have everything except this little paradigm change that can really change everything. So I really want to share that with you. And it was also what I shared in today's newsletter. If you want that, by the way, you can just check the description of any video and you can see how you can download the roadmap. There's a link to how to download the roadmap from Oz to Immunity. And when you download that, you automatically get included in our newsletter. So I want to share that. But before we talk about the weekly roundup and today's the insight I want to share, I just want to say thank you. I noticed yesterday that Set It and Forget It was ranked number 42 in Amazon, like in sleep disorders. And guess what? There are more than 10,000 titles that are under sleep disorders. So I was just blown away. It's amazing because this is just, you know, something I wrote and something where my wife designed everything, and a childhood friend of hers made the illustrations. This is like, there's no publisher. This is self-published. This is community driven. It's thanks to you. It's thanks to you writing reviews, you telling people about it, that this is happening. And I'm just so thankful. I made it not to forget to thank everyone for the amazing support. So it made me so glad yesterday when I saw this. All right, so let's do the roundup. Monday we had Insomnia Insight number 463, and I think I didn't title it well, and the thumbnail wasn't great, so it didn't really get the attention that it's quote unquote deserved. But I think there's some insight there. What I really talked about there was how Natalie had noticed that in Set It and Forget It, I talk about how you can tell your friends if something good is happening to you if you're sleeping well, etc. But on the same note, I've talked a lot about lately how if we celebrate sleeping as a win, that leads to this insomnia roller coaster, and I reconcile those ideas in that video. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. Tuesday was my birthday, actually, and that's why there was no herd online. Just had a nice dinner with my family and spent time with them. Wednesday, we had Insomnia Open class number 157 with Coach Michelle, and I really recommend this one. If you pick anything from this week, I think that one was really helpful, and there was that conversation was really nice with Coach Michelle. We answered questions from the community here, and now Thursday, we had a Michael here as a guest, and it was a really nice episode where if you've experienced somniphobia, the fear of falling asleep or fear of sleeping, that particularly can be really helpful to tune in for, because Michael experienced that and talked about it. Now, what is this like new paradigm I'm talking about, and why do I want to share that before the weekend here? It was actually both the client that I had a private call with and somebody in the immunity program. They both said, like, wow, thinking of insomnia as a phobia, that in my 20 years or something of struggle, one of them said, in my many years, several years of struggle, that the other one said, I've never come across this, and this makes so much sense. And the thing is that you may have heard me talk about this before, but I really want to stress it. And I also want to stress why I think what I think is radical about this, which is new. So the thing is, like, when we think of insomnia as a type of phobia, then the process and quote unquote treatment makes sense. What I mean by that is that if you think about how you can become scared of an insect, and then naturally you're like, oh, I'm not going to expose myself to insects. You try to avoid them, and the more you try to avoid them, the more scared of them you become, and the more you struggle. That the sort of the process of having a phobia develops mirrors how insomnia develops to a T. We can see that it's the same process, but what's more eye-opening is that the quote unquote treatment, when we think of insomnia phobia, makes perfect sense. And what I mean by treatment, and what I say quotation marks, well, I don't believe there's any illness, so there's no treatment in that sense. I think the quote unquote treatment is education. But the reason I said treatment here is that when we think of insomnia as a phobia, the standard, the established treatment for phobias, which is exposure therapy, makes perfect sense. When we see that, being willing to expose ourselves to insects, talk about them, hear about them, maybe even touch them, that leads us to not fear them. We can see that the same is true for insomnia. When we're willing to be awake, experience wakefulness, make wakefulness into something that is acceptable to us, that is how insomnia ends. And now here's why I think this kind of becomes radical, which is, one, if this understanding, if this paradigm shift would happen, then whenever you saw somebody who was a psychologist or a medical professional and they were taught this, then you'd be told a story that makes sense from the beginning. It would change everything. And the first thing you would be told was that, yes, this is sort of like a phobia and this was happening. It would make sense from the beginning. And that's huge. And the professional that you'd see and speak to, they would have something to share with you that makes sense, which would be so amazing for them, because so many people that are, you know, trying to help, they don't know what they're doing. It's frustrating for them. It would be huge change for them as well. And number three, we don't have to like reinvent the wheel. The approach to getting back to yourself, like the process of like how, you know, how we meet insomnia, the treatment, if you will, it already exists. And you know, and it would that it already exists, and it makes sense. It would make sense to you if the paradigm was shifted like that. So again, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Everything exists out there to change everything. It's just the only thing that needs to change is the understanding that insomnia is a type of phobia. If that gets out there, then everything will change. So I want to share this with you, and you know, just by you being here, taking part of this, sharing with people, that is already part of like that paradigm change. That so will really make a dent in the sleep universe. So with that said, I want to thank you for this week. As always, if you're finding everything you need here to arrive at a place of peaceful sleep, that is wonderful. If you feel stuck, if you want things contextualized for you more in a personal way, then know that we are here for you. Uh, Check out the options for coaching on our website. And if you decide to join, we can't wait to see you on the inside. With that said, hope you have a wonderful weekend, and look forward to being back next week. Bye for now.